Some of us might be looking forward to a vacation on a beautiful island this summer. Yes, please. But not all islands are equal when it comes to emergency medical care. There is one in the Caribbean where if your life is in danger, medical help may not arrive even if an ambulance shows up. Our lead national correspondent, that of course is David Begnaud, traveled to an island off Puerto Rico's main island and has more on this story. David, good morning to you.
Gayle, good morning. It is a beautiful island. When you book a vacation, do you check to see if there's an ambulance service that will respond with trained medical personnel and the equipment needed if you have an emergency? Most people probably don't. But that is the situation on Culebra for the nearly 1,800 year-round residents and the tourists who help to keep the economy going. So we traveled by boat 17 miles from the main island of Puerto Rico to Culebra after we got word about recent drownings on the island. I want to warn you, some of the video you are about to see may be disturbing.
Puerto Rico's Flamenco Beach is considered among the world's best. Located on the island of Culebra, tourists flock here.
Between 500 and 700,000 visitors visit the island every year, and they come to this beach.
Attorney Julian Rivera Aspinall represents the family of Manny Ma of Boise, Idaho. The 62-year-old Ma drowned while snorkeling off this beach last December.
His wife found them floating out in the ocean. He was eventually pronounced dead, and unfortunately there wasn't any way of being able to save his life here at the beach.
There's been a grave danger here that the locals know all too well, but the visitors almost never do. If your life is in danger, help is almost non-existent. When we were there, there was not a single lifeguard on the beach. We did see this man using a whistle to keep people from going too far out into the surf. He says he's a volunteer, not paid, not trained. He just wants to help.
I'm thinking that I'm coming to this beautiful beach and I'm going to see a lifeguard or two here. I was surprised to see no lifeguards.
While we were there, we met Maria Linden and Julian Rivera from New York City, and they asked what we were working on. So I explained to them that not only did Flamenco Beach not have lifeguards, there was no one employed as a certified paramedic on the island. There's not even a working ambulance stocked with the supplies needed to save your life. Before the two of you came here to visit Culebra, did you think for a moment whether or not there was a working ambulance?
No, you're just telling me this time. I'm stunned right now.
We wanted to speak with Culebra's mayor, Eldeberto Romero Yvet, to find out what's happening here. Just so I understand you clearly, you don't have an ambulance staffed 24 hours a day here in Culebra, correct?
Correcto. Correcto.
That's scary.
Sí.
Because your number one industry here is tourism.
Sí.
He's been the mayor here in Culebra for a little bit more than a year, and he says he's trying to change things, but the high cost of living on the island and a lack of certified personnel is making it extremely difficult to employ qualified medical professionals.
I need paramedics, I need a doctor, I need a technical emergency. I need that people come to work in Culebra.
While the mayor waits on the right people, back on Flamenco Beach, he is taking steps to make the beach safer, installing bilingual signs, red flags, and a lifeguard stand.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's progress. That's great. Again, I am very happy that the island of Culebra is eventually taking steps so that these types of accidents don't happen again. My client's accident was not the only accident that has occurred here.
Back in February of this year, Sharuja Paramanathan, her husband Thiva, and their kids traveled from Toronto to Flamenco Beach in Culebra for a vacation. That is when the unthinkable happened. Onlookers called 911 as Good Samaritans administered CPR to the 40-year-old father of three who they dragged out of the water. Witnesses say it took at least 30 minutes for an ambulance just to show up.
They're not emergency official. They're just two drivers, basically. That's what they are.
So this is essentially like a taxi.
Yep. It's basically a taxi that says ambulance.
Wow. Do you feel like they did anything to try and save your husband's life?
No, it was just an easy. I know it's another person for them. It was just easy. Sorry, that's all we could do.
Sharuja's husband died. Tomorrow you are going to hear more from her And you're going to meet two of the Good Samaritans who tried to save her husband's life. You will also hear directly from one of the ambulance drivers who arrived on the scene that day. And what happened when he got there? What did he actually do? We'll tell you.
This is so upsetting, David, because I think when you go on vacation, you almost let your guard down. You certainly don't think that you're going to die on vacation, and certainly not snorkeling.
Well, Gayle,
you think if it does, somebody will be there to help you.
Take it for granted.
Yes.
You're going to call for help and they come, right?
Yes,
That's what growing up
exactly.
in the States. Wait until you hear tomorrow when I say to the guy, the paramedic, well, in the States, we're used to this. Wait until you see his reaction. But I want you to know that the good people of Culebra, Nate, you asked how many people live there, roughly 1,800 permanently. Mm-hmm. They've been dealing with this for years. Wow. They've been begging the island's government to fix this.
Yeah, but the tourists that go there don't know that.
Right.
That's what's so frightening.
Well, but the locals will tell you, why does it take tourists to fix what we've been ranting about for years?
Tourists dying.
Bingo, right? And why is the tourism important? Because it's the #1 industry there.
I find it remarkable that the mayor, while you're saying asking those questions, he's agreeing, yes, we don't have paramedics.
Look, I think the mayor wants to get it fixed. He just doesn't have the money, and he just can't get the people.
Well, I like him being very plain about it. Yes, you're right, as opposed to trying to explain.
Well, he's not running away from it.
No. Yeah. All right, David, thank you. Can't
We'll
wait
see you
for
tomorrow.
part 2. Yes. We continue our reporting today on a hidden danger at one of Puerto Rico's top tourist destinations. Remember yesterday we told you about the tragic consequences when emergency medical care never arrived in response to recent drownings on the island of Culebra. This morning we hear from two people who did try to help when a man was in urgent need. Our lead national correspondent, David Begnaud, is back with the story. David, your story was so disturbing yesterday. I can't imagine it get any worse.
It's such an important story.
I think so, too.
And today we'll hear from the two people at the scene. We told you about the two families yesterday whose lives were changed forever when they went on vacation to the paradise island of Culebra. There was Manny Ma, the man from Utah who drowned while snorkeling. And then there was the heartbreaking experience of Sharuja Paramanathan from Canada, who waited helplessly for an ambulance to arrive after her husband drowned on Flamenco Beach. Here is part 2 of our report, beginning with more of our interview with Sharuja. I want to warn you, some of what you are about to see is disturbing.
Finally, the ambulance came. The person, I remember asking, somebody asked if they know how to do CPR, and I remember him asking, what's CPR? So at that time, I kind of lost my hope.
Sharuja Paramanathan says she was holding out hope that once they got into the ambulance, there would at least be some type of life-saving equipment, like a defibrillator, that could help to resuscitate her husband.
It's empty. It's empty. They come with an ambulance. It's completely empty.
There's no machine, nothing in there.
Her husband was taken to Culebra's only clinic, and that is where he was pronounced dead.
I'm sure if it happened in Toronto, he'll be alive right now. That's what I know right now.
If they would have done more, he would be alive.
For sure. For sure. I'm from Sri Lanka, and I've been in ambulance in Sri Lanka, and it's a third world country, and they have much better facility than this. Much better facility.
Emily Jimenez, a certified medical assistant, and Emily Bocut, a registered nurse, were there with their young families on vacation. They were two of the Good Samaritans on the beach that day when the emergency happened. They didn't know each other before this, and they have not seen Sharuja since then. What is it like for the two of you just listening to her?
It's heartbreaking. I've had every feeling that you can imagine, from anger to frustration to sadness. There's people that live there. What kind of care are they getting?
I told the same Emily when I left that hospital. I told them, this gotta change. I mean, what happened to us shouldn't happen to anybody else.
Do you remember saying at some point, where the heck is the ambulance?
Yes, multiple times. Yep. I was the one doing compressions when they showed up. Mm-hmm. And I just looked up and I said, hey, we're all exhausted. Is there any way you guys could take over for us or help us?
What did they say?
They just said, no, we don't do them out here.
So what were they doing? Standing around just watching y'all?
Yep, standing around.
Emily Jimenez recorded this video.
Ambulance takes over 30 minutes. Then they come with no equipment. They refuse to give him CPR.
There is one resident living on Culebra who says he is a certified paramedic. He even posted on his Facebook page about passing the test. His name is David Perez. In fact, he was one of the first responders to arrive on the beach that day when Good Samaritans were trying to revive Sharuja's husband.
All right, so you and another person responded to the scene.
Yes, él es driver, only driver.
And so what were you there to do?
Asistir al chofer, en otras palabras, porque...
Assist the chauffeur.
Assist the chauffeur.
Yes. ¿Cómo se dice? My job prescription is technician, the emergency management. No ENT, no paramedic, o sea, no, not in the health, de salud.
I hear you, but I'm just struggling, David, because you are a paramedic. So I understand you're not working for the municipality as a paramedic, but when this happened, you were trained as a paramedic. So why didn't you offer to help with the CPR or with anything?
El CPR, ellos lo estaban haciendo.
He claims that once they got into the ambulance, he performed CPR. Sharuja told us that never happened.
In my experience in the States, paramedics just always jump in, right? They always just jump in and take over.
Eso es en Estados Unidos, aquí en Puerto Rico. Aquí a veces no tenemos apoyo ni de la policía, muchachos.
What did he say?
He said that that's in the United States, not necessarily here in Puerto Rico.
Not in Puerto Rico.
But, yeah.
And I think, and I don't...
Aquí a veces no hay apoyo ni de la policía.
Yeah, sometimes there's not even support from the police.
There's not even support for police, and I appreciate the candor, but it's also kind of sad.
I would like to see the people that were responsible to assist but chose not to be held accountable. I would like to see the government, use the funds that they have and utilize them to making the island safe.
And so what did the two of you think walking away?
I assumed they were going to give care, but I felt just sick about it all. That man did not get the justice of care that he needed.
Sick why?
There's so many things just basic things that could have given him a better outcome, and we didn't have any of that. We weren't able to give him the best care we could have.
Would you go back?
I don't think so. I feel like it's too big of a risk, especially with my family. At this point, there has to be something done.
5 days after we left Culebra, a 58-year-old man died after drowning on Flamenco Beach. Now, the mayor's office tells us they have since hired a lifeguard who began working on May 14th and that there have been no reported drownings since. Now, get this, the Puerto Rico Public Safety Department that oversees all of Puerto Rico's islands told us in a statement that in Culebra there are 2 municipal paramedics, one of them that's certified. So we went back to the mayor's office to say, hey, did you hire someone since we were there? Do you now have a paramedic? You know what they told us? No, we haven't hired anyone but the lifeguard.
I'm telling you, if I was thinking about a trip to Culebra, I'd be rethinking it right about now.
For sure.
I'm fascinated by that paramedic who sat down and talked to you and just admitted, no, I didn't do anything. And he was aware that someone died. He was aware, and he's still saying this to you. I don't get it, David.
It's in his own words. Now, let me say this, Gayle. They thrive on tourism.
Yeah.
There will be people who watch this story who say this is going to hurt tourism. I want to be very clear. This is not an attempt to hurt tourism. This is waving a giant red flag to say that in a United States territory, it is unacceptable to not have a single paramedic or a working ambulance available 24 hours a day. And the island's government can do something about it. In fact, last night, we were on the phone late at night, and we found out that apparently there's some type of effort in the works for the island's government to help Culebra and send medics over from the main island.
But it's a stinging.
Well, they need to do it sooner rather than later.
Immediately.
The mayor you spoke to yesterday, he acknowledged that there was a problem.
Totally.
He did acknowledge that.
Totally.
So they should fix it.
It's a stinging indictment when Sharuja says that in Sri Lanka, which she admits is a third world country where she is from, that there are better facilities and this wouldn't have happened there. then a territory of the United States of America. And then when you have the nurse, Emily, who says that, he would still be here if he had gotten
And I know there are locals on the island who are watching this saying, David, we've been dealing with this for years.
Yeah.
And it took tourists dying for this to get the attention that we've been asking for.
I could see why that would be upsetting. I was wondering how it could get worse today, and it did.
Yeah. And I know
I'm glad you're telling it.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on this type of reporting, which
Yes.
is exquisite. But this is important because it can save lives.
Bingo.
David, thank you.